Is there a better feeling out there than going into a movie blind and falling in love with it? Knowing at most the title and poster, but deciding to invest your time and take a chance. Then, when you end completely charmed, your risk was validated. Every movie you watch is a risk. Once you hit play, you could be in for a torturous time. However, one of my favorite parts about movie is when you hit the gems. I recently had this very experience with a movie, Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person. This movie had been on my radar for a couple months, based on the name alone. One random night, I decided to rip the band-aid off, get the movie free trial, and watch. And now I just have to make a video about this movie. I want to talk about it so badly. Humanist Vampire is the debut feature of writer-director Ariane Luzez. It's a French-language Canadian production that was made on a rather small budget. It did some rounds on the festival circuit last year before hitting limited theaters this year, later releasing on VOD, and I watched this on Mubi. This is one of those movies where the plot is just the title, but I'll give a brief explanation anyway. Sasha is a young vampire who refuses to kill, traumatized from her family killing a birthday clown when she was really young. She also doesn't morally believe she should kill just to stay alive. She instead drinks out of blood bags to keep herself alive. Sasha runs into Paul, who's about to commit suicide. This is the first time Sasha's fangs have spurted. After being sent to her aunt's house and being taken off of blood bags, Sasha has to find a way to live. She goes to Paul. They come up with an agreement. Sasha will help Paul live out his last wishes and then will help him with the suicide if she gets to feed on him. This is such a fun concept for a movie, playing on the long-established tropes of vampires drinking blood, being painted as monsters. Instead of a monster, Sasha is human and wants to kill ethically, a character who doesn't want to die but is willing to do so for the sake of others. And then you have Paul, who does want to die but doesn't do it for the sake of others. The way these two are mirrored versions of each other is great. They're in the positions that the other want. Paul wishes he had an excuse to die, is ready to sacrifice himself for others, while Sasha just wants to be normal and not have to worry about all this. It's brilliant how they have what the other one wants. I was quite touched by this movie's take on mental health. The compassion and care it had for Paul and his suicidal thoughts were evident. A lot of filmmaking involves spectacle, taking every emotion and turning it up tenfold, going over the top. I often find movies that deal with suicide to be rather overdramatic, wringing every ounce of sympathy out of the situation. It feels like pointing and yelling at this sad thing, rather than just letting you feel it. I find this overly cinematic portrayal of suicide to be rather unrealistic and off-putting. Humanist Vampire never does this though. Presents Paul's thoughts as grounded and not sensationalized. That gave this movie a warmth that pulled me in even more. An intimate showing of heavy ideas. Normalizing suicide makes the movie even more powerful for me. This is a real problem real people face. An incredibly fresh take on mental health in media. This movie balances talking about mental health and suicide with being really funny. If you have to give this movie a label as a genre, it would be horror comedy, I guess. Coming of age if you consider that a genre. The horror elements are rather silly, leaving it to have no real scary parts. But it does have the horror and gothic vibes to it, and the comedy is where this movie sings. Even the concept of the movie itself is funny, and most of the jokes land, and they land hard. I laughed when they wanted me to, which feels like it should be true for all comedies, but it really isn't. I find most comedies to be rather unfunny and trying too hard, but Humanist Vampire was never trying too hard to get a laugh out of you. The highlight was the physical comedy in this. Sasha hitting her cousin with a shovel and the silly frantic run she does afterward had me dying. The way she ran was perfectly goofy while not being too much either. And it's the comedy that makes this movie more approachable and digestible. If this would have been played 100% straight, I think it would have crumbled. There is still one massive piece of the puzzle I haven't focused on. That is the lead actor, Sarah Mompiet. She manages to be the standout of a really well-made film. She plays Sasha to be so likable. The character feels fully alive and has a distinct, real personality. She is perfectly awkward in the role. There are little character quirks that make her more relatable. That's the main point. She is relatable. Feels like a person you could meet and be friends with. This does even more to pull you into the sillier concept and ground it on an emotional level. She's also able to turn it up for the bigger emotional scenes while staying in character and being rather muted. A brilliant mix I could never understand balancing. This has me so excited to watch Sarah Mompiet's career going forward. She was able to play so many facets of this movie so greatly. My favorite acting performance of the year so far, and we're pretty late into the year, so it might stick. One topic I think about a lot and will always refer back to is the general sentiment that cinema is dying. You can't go more than a day online without seeing somebody say, Hollywood doesn't make good original movies anymore. Then these same people only watch the same old big budget, highest grossing movies every year. The same slop Disney is pushing out, or the newest Star Wars/Marvel movie. It's more than fine to to watch these movies. But if they are the only movie you watch, you can't claim there are no good movies anymore. There are dozens, if not hundreds of good movies coming out every year. You just can't be bothered to seek them out and watch them. Big budget films might be dying. They might not. That is a discussion for another time. But if you are failing to connect to these movies that are the highest grossing, simply stop watching them. Invest in these smaller films. Spend time looking for movies that come out in smaller markets. One goal with this channel is to bring more attention to the better aspect of current day filmmaking. Hopefully, talking about these movies will inspire more people to seek out them, and this video will inspire people to watch Humanist Vampire. For a large portion of the year, I've been seeking my favorite 2024 movie. I made the underrated video in hopes one of them would stand out and present itself as a head above. Don't get me wrong, I still love a lot of movies that have come out this year. I saw The TV Go, Kill, Good One, and Conclave, but none of these movies felt like surefire best of the year material for some reason. Looking at the last few years, I don't see any of those movies standing on the level of Ironclaw, Anatomy of a Fall, Babylon, or RRR. And while I'm not ready to claim Humanist Vampire is just on that level yet, it came along and cemented itself as the top of the year for me. As soon as the credits roll, I knew I had found it, the only movie to call my favorite so far. I simply had a blast watching this. I was charmed by every aspect, fully engrossed and pulled in. This is more than just a really good movie. It's a cozy movie that made me enjoy movies. It reminded me why I love movies. Online fandom and movie talk can be really annoying. I love making these videos, but it does add some exhaustion to the idea of talking about movies, especially when talking about movies I don't like as much. Finding a movie that takes you away from all that and just reminds you how great of a distraction movies can be is wonderful. I cannot wait to continue to watch the careers of the people who made this, or to find other movies like this that continue to come out. If you like this shorter, singular focus style of video, let me know. I'm more inclined to do the bigger video essays and explore a large topic more so. But I also really enjoyed writing a singular review, discussing one movie in its entirety. Let me know what style of video you prefer. I'll still be making both kinds from now on, seeing what works and what I like to do. But I just wondered if this shorter style worked better for some people. If you have reached the end, subscribe to the channel. I want you to be able to see my videos in the future, and being so small, I don't know if you will see me again. A like and a comment will help too. I'm always down to talk about movies, but most importantly, go watch Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person. Thank you for watching the video.